Let's start off talking about Analytics Cloud content access. And for those of you who have heard previous descriptions of how we've talked about our publisher for business objects, we make an important distinction between pull and push and how that relates to content access. So let's break that down a bit. When we look to the very standard processes for accessing content from Analytics Cloud, we consider that to be a pull. And what we mean by that is that the various users of the Analytics Cloud system are logging into the Analytics Cloud environment and accessing content and essentially pulling that content down to their browser for viewing and consumption. That involves steps of logging into the Analytics Cloud environment, navigating for the report that they're looking for, the story that they're looking for, and then consuming that in a browser environment. So this process works very well, but there are certainly situations where we need to focus more on a push of content. Now, very recently, Analytics Cloud has released capabilities for being able to do scheduling of Analytics Cloud stories and then be able to distribute those by email in a PDF form. So that's important new functionality and will be quite well used, no doubt. And so we're pleased that that is now available. What we see, though, is that those are fairly basic use cases. What we see quite commonly in our customer organizations is scenarios where we have multiple users who have essentially the same question, but they work in a different territory, they're responsible for a different business unit or a different dimension of the operation. So even though they might have the same questions, because they have a different area of responsibility, they require different answers. They require content that's very specific to their territory, their department, their location. So even though it's the same questions, it's different answers that they need. So how do we address that? Well, within Analytics Cloud, now that scheduling is available, one way would be able to set up multiple schedules and a schedule for each individual user. If it's a small group that's requiring information, that may well be workable. But what's really needed is something where it's a more structured, single schedule that gets content individualized and sent out to end users. But unfortunately, those aren't capabilities that exist within Analytics Cloud, which really brings us to our topic today around Publisher for Cloud and how it fits into the picture here. So we want to give a good description today for the APOS Publisher for Cloud and how it addresses these kinds of use cases. So Publisher for Cloud has good, strong connectivity with the Analytics Cloud environment, and it's designed to address these scenarios where, again, if we go back to our multi-user scenario where everyone has the same questions but requires different answers, this is a scenario where Publisher for Cloud fits very well. Publisher for Cloud allows for a very structured approach to the generation of individualized content and the distribution of that individualized content. And this, of course, is the essence of what bursting is and what distribution is. So again, meeting those needs for the same questions, but different answers that are required. We can see that for one user, they'll receive a report that looks and reports on the data that's respective to them. But for another user, what will be distributed to them is the same report, but will only be for the data that they have responsibility for. So this addresses the very particular need, and in this case, it's being distributed out in PDF format. So same questions, different answers. That applies very much for sales personnel. Often it's a fit for store locations, but could also be a scenario of production facilities and having individual needs within those production facilities. So that really is the essence of what Publisher for Cloud is providing, and we'll look at a number of different iterations of that today.